Welcome back to the Living Well podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Martone. I have a doctorate in pharmacy. I'm a yoga teacher and have over 15 years of experience in the health and wellness field. Today's episode is something I'm very excited about and passionate about. We'll be talking about bone health, and I'll give you some very simple, practical tools you can use to help improve the health of your bones. So we'll talk a bit about bone biology, what your bones are made up of, so you can understand why some of these diet changes are important. We'll go over some things that could be harming the health of your bones and also some things to help improve the health of your bones. Some of you listeners out there might be wondering why this is even important or if it's relevant to you at all. And it is. This information is helpful for anyone at any age to be proactive and really set yourself up to age with the most health possible. So a simple statistic to keep in mind, in the US, about 1 in 5 women and 1 in 20 men age 50 and over have been diagnosed with osteoporosis, and 1 in 3 women have bone thinning that can lead to osteoporosis. That's called osteopenia. While there's certain factors that are not modifiable, such as age, gender, familial predisposition, there are some factors that you can do something about, like physical activity, exercise, and eating a healthy diet, which doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. I'm talking about just eating real foods, fruits and vegetables, and a wide variety of foods also. Let's get into what the bones are made up of a little bit so you can understand better why it's important to be eating the right types of foods. So your bone is an active tissue that's constantly turning over. This is a process called remodeling. So in order for this process to take place, this remodeling to take place, you have to consume the building blocks. You have to give your body what it needs to keep building healthy, strong bones. And this includes vitamins, minerals, and something you might not think about, also protein and fat. Our bones are not made up of coffee or cheese puffs or gummy bears. Our bones are made up of these things I mentioned: vitamins, minerals, proteins, fats. These are things you have to consume. You have to put it into your body. And if we're not giving our body what it needs in order to make healthy bone, we could be setting ourselves up for weak bones later in life and potentially fractures. The majority of our bone mass is acquired during the growth phase of bone development, which occurs usually during the first 20 or 30 years of life. And acquiring this bone mass during this phase, you can kind of think of it like a bone bank account. Like we have our savings account where we save money, you also have a bone bank account. And in these early years in life, you're really building kind of the max potential of bone that your genetics, your diet, your physical activity allows. So even if you're young, if you're in your 20s, this is a very important topic. You want to establish these habits early in life to set yourself up to age with the most health as possible, so you feel good and you can do the things that you love in life for as long as possible. Sometimes people don't even think about their bone health until menopause or until even you've had a fracture and you've fallen, especially if you have risk factors, if osteoporosis runs in your family, if you've had long-term oral steroid use or long-term antacid use. Get a DEXA scan. This is a scan which gives you an idea of how much bone mineral density you have. It can't exactly tell you how strong that bone is, but it tells you how much bone you have left. And if you know this earlier in life, the sooner you're able to do something about it. It gives you a good kind of baseline level. And then once you hit menopause and as you age, you can continue to get these scans done to have an idea of where you're at as far as the health of your bones. Even if your insurance doesn't cover it, if you can get your doctor to write for it, out-of-pocket a DEXA scan is between $100 and $200, depending on where you live. Get it done. That way you have a good baseline of where you are. Let's get into some of the bone biology. You have two types of bone tissue. Compact bone, about 80% of your skeleton is compact bone, which forms the surface of the bones. And the small bones of your wrist, your hands, your feet are entirely this type of bone. The other type is spongy bone, which is about 20% of your skeleton, and this is found within the ends of the long bones and inside the flat bones. Think of the skull, the pelvis, sternum, ribs, your shoulder blades, and the spinal vertebrae. By volume, your bones consist of 40% calcium and phosphorus. So this is the majority of the bones, why it's important you get this from your diet. They're about 25% water. Another really easy thing to do to improve bone health, make sure you're drinking lots of water. And about 35% of the bone is made up of proteins. 90% of that is type 1 collagen. So in addition to these main components, you also need things such as vitamin K, vitamin C, which is essential for collagen synthesis, magnesium, sodium, potassium, vitamin D, very important, so your body is able to absorb these nutrients, absorb the calcium. The major source of our body's vitamin D comes from our own production in the skin. That's why it's so important to get outside, have a little sunshine. Another very simple thing to do when you're taking a break at work, don't sit and scroll on Instagram on your phone, don't check Facebook, don't go on Twitter, go outside. Go outside. Take a walk, 5-10 minutes, that's it. Come back inside. As long as maybe your arms are exposed or you have shorts on, your legs are exposed, the ultraviolet rays from the sun are able to hit the body. And then both the liver and the kidneys are needed to create an active form of vitamin D. I want to talk a little bit more about calcium. This is the most common mineral found in your body, and about 99% of that calcium is found in the bones and the teeth. It's a really important mineral for not just your bones, but for your muscles, for your nervous system, for your blood vessels. And because these functions are so essential, your body will actually pull calcium out of your bones if you don't have enough of it in your blood. If you're not getting enough from your diet or supplements, your body will take those nutrients from your bones, which contributes to bone weakness. And this is why malnutrition, not eating the right foods, or not eating enough of the right foods can really be detrimental to your bone health. And this is something I experienced myself. My bones tend to be thin. I tend to eat a little bit less. I exercise a lot, but that can actually make things worse. If you're exercising and you're someone who's really active, but you're not eating enough of the right foods, it's not going to get it. You really have to think of like a whole picture here. Exercise, drinking enough water, getting good sleep, eating the right types of foods, and enough of the right types of food. That includes fat and that includes protein. Listeners, I have a short little game that I'd like to play with you. Per serving size, what has more calcium? Milk or yogurt? Yogurt. Milk or sardines? Sardines. Broccoli or cottage cheese? Broccoli. And the last one, which is a little tricky, arugula or Parmesan cheese? Arugula. So I think by now you kind of get my point. We're taught or led to believe that milk is the gold standard for getting calcium. If you're someone who can't tolerate milk or you stay away from animal products, there are plenty of sources, great sources of calcium that are not meat and that are not dairy. So I'll post an article on my blog of the daily recommended amounts of all these minerals and vitamins, and also some really good sources, both animal and non-animal sources of calcium. I want to briefly talk about some things that you may already know are not great for your health, but you might not know that they can also negatively impact your bone health. One is soda. Soda contains phosphoric acid, which can leach the calcium out of your bones. You already know these types of drinks have high amounts of sugar and high fructose corn syrup, things we should stay away from anyways, but also important for your bones that you limit these types of drinks. Coffee. I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but coffee, particularly if you're a heavy coffee drinker, which means 3, 4, or more cups in a day, you might want to reconsider your coffee habit. Just like soft drinks, coffee can leach the calcium or inhibit your body from being able to absorb calcium. This is something that's easily modifiable if you take just a few tablespoons of milk or supplement, or just make sure you're getting enough calcium in your diet. Next is alcohol. There's some interesting studies out there that show light alcohol use, like a cup of or a glass of wine with dinner, can be beneficial for your bones, but definitely heavy alcohol drinking, 2 to 3 ounces of alcohol every day, poses a lot of health risks, including issues to your bones. When you drink too much, your stomach becomes inefficient in absorbing calcium, and alcohol also affects your pancreas, your liver, and their absorption of bone-building materials. Like I said, you have to give your body the building blocks that it needs, and also not do things that interfere with your body being able to absorb these nutrients. Cigarette smoking. I'm not going to go over all the negative impacts for your health of smoking cigarettes and tobacco use. I'm sure you all already know that, but it can also affect your bone health. Smoking can lead to alterations in your hormone production and metabolism that can affect your bone cell activity and function. Positively, though, studies show that when you stop smoking, some of these risks can be reversed. And lastly, very important and sometimes overlooked, is eating foods that are high in sodium. The amount of sodium consumed can alter the calcium balance in your body. Your body works very hard to maintain homeostasis, balanced levels of all these vitamins and minerals. And when you're ingesting too much sodium, it affects the levels of calcium. So this is something you can easily avoid or limit by not eating so much processed food, fast food, and also only using the salt shaker when it's really necessary. Some other things to pay attention to if you're someone who's on long-term steroids, not so much injections, inhalers, skin creams, or eye drops. They haven't been shown to increase the risk of osteoporosis, but orally taking steroids has. Sometimes the benefits of steroids outweigh the risks. So if you're someone who has to be on them long term, your bone health should just be carefully monitored. Some breast cancer and prostate cancer drugs, because of how they alter your hormones in your body, can put you at risk for osteoporosis. So again, that just needs to be monitored. Something very common that I see in the pharmacy all the time is antacids and heartburn drugs. These, when you're taking them long-term, and long-term means several years of proton pump inhibitors, Protonix, Acifex, Rabeprazole, these types of things, it's been associated with an increased risk for hip fracture in older adults, and this could also be because of the way it alters the body's ability to absorb nutrients. Talking again about homeostasis, your body works so hard to maintain stability inside, and this also has to do with the pH levels of your blood, of your stomach. So when you chronically alter that pH balance, it also alters your body's ability to absorb nutrients. Again, sometimes the benefit of taking these things long-term outweighs the risk. So if you do have to be on these medications, just make sure your bone health is being monitored. Also, get your blood checked. This should be done every year. Go to your doctor, have your physical, do your blood work. That way you have a good idea of where you stand. Just taking supplements without having that information can be really harmful. So make sure you're getting your blood checked. Okay, the nectar of today's talk is how you can improve your bone health. These are really simple, practical tips that you can use in your daily routine to help improve your bones. 1, drink plenty of water. It sounds very simple, and a lot of us think that we are, but if you were to actually measure it, we're not really getting enough for many people. Our bones are around 22% water, and we've all been told drink 8 to 10 glasses of water per day, yet 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. This can also lead to migraines and headaches and other things, but today we're just talking about the bones. So commit to a water habit. Get a water bottle big enough to hold your daily amount and make sure you're drinking it throughout the day. This doesn't mean right before you go to bed, chug 64 ounces of water. Keep the water bottle with you. Make sure midday you've finished half of it, and at least an hour or two before bed, finish the rest. That way you're not getting up throughout the night to go to the bathroom, disturbing your sleep. Which brings us to the second part, sleep. There's been so many studies that suggest sleep disturbances or abnormal sleep duration or sleep apnea are associated with lower bone mineral density. So make sure you're getting yourself enough sleep. This can be different for different people depending on your age, but generally around 7 to 8.5, 9 hours is what's recommended. Third, eat a healthy diet with a wide range of fruits and vegetables, and also fats, healthy fats, salmon, sardines. If you're vegan, avocados, great source of healthy fat, coconut oil, walnuts. In fact, a study published by the National Institute of Public Health found that women diagnosed with osteoporosis consume significantly less amounts of dietary fat and protein. The fat and the collagen in the bones are what provides the flexibility to the bones. Eat plenty of protein. This is a building block for collagen in your bones. You can kind of think of the protein like rebar in a house. You know, the rebar providing the strong foundational stability. This is the collagen, the role of collagen in your bones. And for your body to be able to make this collagen, you have to be eating enough protein. Most of us are not. You need to eat protein to make collagen, and that collagen makes up the strong inner bone structure. Think about something that's really rigid, like a tree. Think about a tree trunk or a tree branch. If it's really rigid and tight, when the wind blows, that branch is going to break. But if it's pliable, which is what the collagen does for your bones, makes them flexible, if you fall, the bones will give a little bit. The bones will be flexible and yield and not break. If you're age 50 or over, you can estimate about 0.5 gram of protein per pound. So if you're at a healthy weight, BMI between 19 and 24, you can divide your weight in pounds in half to get a rough estimate of how many grams of protein you should have. And I challenge you to track it for a few days. Don't just say, yeah, I'm getting enough. Really track it. You can write it down, or there's a lot of free apps, trackers, where you log what you're eating and it calculates it for you. For the overwhelming majority of us, we're not getting enough protein. A really easy way to bump this up is to add a scoop of protein powder to your food. You can add it to oatmeal in the morning or yogurt, or make a shake throughout the day. There's also so many types of jerky. If you don't eat meat, there's tempeh, there's tofu jerky. This is a nice way throughout the day to get a little hit of protein. And if you're concerned about your weight, eating more protein will make you feel more full and help to reduce cravings. Meal prepping is huge to make sure you're getting a healthy diet. What we do is make a menu for the week, buy only the items that we need. We are able to grow a lot of our food here as far as fruits and vegetables, but not all year round. So when we need, we get just the essentials for that week from the grocery store. And then I choose 2 days during the week to do the majority of my prep. That means chopping my vegetables or fruits so it's easy and ready to go. Don't wait until you're hungry, because that's when you grab the empty calorie snacks just as a quick fix. You can chop and prep your proteins, bake your chicken, or saute and season your tofu ahead of time. Cook your grains ahead of time, like a big pot of rice or quinoa or barley. Get the bulk of the work out of the way so that when it's time for a meal, you just have to mix it together. It takes a little bit of planning ahead of time, but it's so worth it. You really find you'll eat healthier, and you also save money because you're not buying food you're not going to use that'll just sit and rot in the refrigerator. So take the time to do it. The next tip, something I'm very passionate about, is exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. No matter what age you are or what your health conditions are or your mobility levels, you can find an exercise routine that's appropriate and healthy for you. I teach a chair yoga class. There's people who have had double hip, double knee replacement, people with scoliosis, people with osteoporosis, and they come every week, sit in the chair, and everybody does what they can, and it's great. Something really easy you can do is heel drops. These are like calf raises, but you drop the heels with a little bit more effort, and that impact on the bones helps to create healthy and strong bones. If you have trouble with balance, stand behind a chair. Weight-bearing exercise or regular resistance exercise helps to reduce your risk of osteoporotic fracture. It works really in a few ways. Increases the vascular supply to your bone tissue. That means you're getting more blood to those areas. It helps to increase bone mass. And also, just very practical, it reduces falling risk because exercise helps to improve your strength, your balance, and your coordination. But again, looking at the whole picture, even if you're exercising but you're not eating the right amounts of foods, it's not going to work. You have to think about the whole picture and also doing the right types of exercise. Studies have shown that just walking does not create that healthy bone building. It has to be more of a high impact, things like tennis, jogging, climbing stairs, volleyball, weightlifting. Don't have to think about some bodybuilder pumping hundreds of pounds of weights. You can get small little weights, 5-pound weights. They're very inexpensive. On Amazon, it's like $10, $12 for a little set of weights. You could get the weights that strap around your arms. Interesting study, a little disappointing for me, but the study looked at yoga, long-term practitioners of yoga as a primary source of exercise, and it did not show those benefits for building, strengthening healthy bones. So I use a little bit of weights at home in my yoga practice. I have weights that wrap around my ankles and my arms, and adding that little bit of resistance, that does it. That's enough to help build healthy, strong bones. I also teach a yoga class where we use weights, and people love it. It feels good in your body to be lifting a bit of weights, especially women as we age. Make sure you have a healthy exercise regimen. Running, using resistance bands, dancing even sometimes, if it's a little bit more of a high intensity type dancing. Of course, there's certain conditions which it's not appropriate for you to be doing these high intensity exercises, but there's always some type of modification, some type of exercise you can do to keep you active and mobile. I hope you found this helpful and also inspiring and motivating to really make your health a priority. I always tell people that's one thing that nobody else is going to do for you. You can pay someone to clean, do your laundry, cook, bring you food, pretty much everything in life, but you cannot pay someone to exercise for you. Nobody can do that but you. So find the motivation, find the time, find something that works for you. Take charge of your diet and also your exercise. So I'll post on my website a lot of this information along with the daily recommended amounts of the vitamins and minerals. One thing I didn't talk about much, taking supplements. Supplements can be great, but first is trying to get what you need through your diet. If that's insufficient, then get a blood test done, see what you're deficient in, and then find the right supplement for you. If this sounds like a lot of information, an easy place to start is just a good multivitamin. And if you're over 50, there's some with more calcium, more vitamin D. But again, get your blood levels checked first and find out what you're deficient in, because you don't want to be over accumulating things in your body. Most of them can be excreted through the urine, they're water soluble, but some of these vitamins are not. They're fat soluble and they can tend to accumulate in the body and create some toxicity. These are things like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. Be very careful with if you're on blood thinners or a risk for blood clot. Talk to your doctor first. I hope that you found this information helpful and inspiring, and I hope that you age gracefully with as much health as possible and are able to continue doing the things you love. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.